Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Welcome back, guys. This is Shahfahadkhan. Okay, so now we are going to start out with the basics of this chapter, and actually the most important part of this chapter, that is the different methods of purification and separation techniques. And by the way, guys, you've got tons and tons of questions regarding this chapter, regarding this section of your chapter. So let's begin. Okay, so in this chapter, we are going to be dealing with four basic types of mixtures. Okay, we've talked about mixture, what a mixture is, any substance containing more than one different substances which are not chemically combined is a mixture. Okay, and four different types of mixtures. And on the basis of the types of mixtures, we are going to use different techniques. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, the first one is separating a solid from a liquid. So basically a mixture of a liquid and a solid. Okay, and there are two basic techniques of that, decanting and filtration, and we are going to look at onto that. Then solids, separating different solids, separating magnetic solids from non-magnetic solids, or separating sublime solids from a non-sublime solid. So that's another technique and another type of mixture. Then a liquid from a solution, it's liquid from a solution, not solid from a solution. Okay, solid from solution was this one, and now this is liquid from a solution. So for that, we've got multiple techniques as well. We've got we've got separating funnel technique, we've got just simple distillation technique, and we've got yeah, these are the two major ones. And then for liquids, just the liquids, it's the separating funnel actually for liquids. Liquid from solution is simple distillation that we're going to use. For liquids, we can use separating funnel for liquids which are non-miscible or immiscible, and for liquids which are miscible, we are going to use fractional distillation. Okay, so this was just a broad overview of what we are going to talk about in the upcoming videos and in the upcoming lectures. So let's get started with the very first one, separating a solid from a liquid. And the very first technique is decanting. Okay, as I told you earlier, there are two techniques. The first one is decanting and the second one is filtration. Okay, we'll be talking about filtration in the next few slides or maybe in the next video, but this video is mainly for decanting process. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so what is decanting? Decanting, let's just read through this para, which I took from your book, Chemistry Matters, as it's a very important para. So let's get started. Okay, so the simplest way to separate the water from pebbles is just pour the water away, right? If you've got a mixture of water and pebble, this is a solid and this is a liquid, and they have not mixed, right? They have not mixed with one another, then you're going to use this method of decanting. What is decanting? Decanting is basically a simple technique. Okay, in decanting, what you do is you take this mixture, you allow it to stand for, let's say, for a certain period of time, and after that period of time, well, that time can vary depending upon the type of mixture you're using. But after that time, all the solid will settle down at the base, and the liquid or clear water will remain on top. Okay, this is a method of separating on the basis of densities. Okay, on the basis of densities. Okay, since pebbles are denser than water, they'll sink down at the bottom and will accumulate at the bottom, whereas water, being less dense than the pebbles, will stay on top. Okay, now what you can do is you can pour the water into a different container. Okay, just like as shown in this diagram over here, you pour the water and prevent the insoluble solid from going into the other beaker. Okay, and preventing that solid from going in. Before that solid dips into the other beaker, you just stop, you just push this away. Okay, you just pull this beaker away and you prevent the solid from going into that beaker, and you finally get your liquid. But here's a drawback. This liquid is not going to be very pure. It will still have some traces of that insoluble solid or some traces of other impurities which were there, or some soluble impurities. So not very pure liquid that you'll get. But yes, this is one technique of separating liquid from the solid, which is insoluble. Remember, it has to be insoluble. Okay, and now let's just finish off reading this para. The method is called decanting. Figure 3.1 is right over here. We use decanting to separate a dense, insoluble liquid solid from a liquid. These are the properties of the solid. Okay, it must be denser, meaning have a greater density. It must be insoluble, and yeah, it must be denser and insoluble. Okay, so if a solid has these two properties, then we can use decanting. It is carried out in everyday life during many activities. For example, during cooking. Okay, how during cooking? Well, there is a real life example of this. in your kitchen, when you have you ever made rice, or have you ever made biryani, or have you ever seen someone making biryani? In that, what happens? They allow this the rice, they pour rice into water, and then allow the rice to sink at the bottom, okay, and allow the rice to flow, to settle down at the base. And then as soon as that happens, and the less dense impurities come out of rice in the water, of course, but the rice, it sits at the bottom. And then what we do is we actually take another bowl after boiling that rice, etc. We take another bowl, that sieve like structure, or that filter like structure, and we pour in this mixture of rice and water. They are not chemically mixed, right? They are physically mixed. You can just think of that rice to be these pebbles, okay, just assume, and the water to be this water. And then as soon as you pass it through that filter, or as soon as you pass off the water away, you get the rice left. So that's one example of decanting. Okay, water is poured off various cooked foods by decanting. Okay, I just gave you one example of cooked rice, which is cooked in water. The water is removed. The white rice, I'm talking about white rice, which you boil the rice before biryani. Okay, and as soon as the rice is boiled, then you add in the spices and stuff, and biryani masala, etc., and then you make your biryani. Okay, very tasty. But anyways, coming back to the topic, this is one example. The biryani is one example, okay? And that's the technique where you use decanting. So this is an application of chemistry in your real life, which makes it even more interesting to study, okay? You are applying this technique in your real life, and without even knowing that it was decanting, without even having a prior knowledge of decanting, you were actually decanting the rice or other cooked foods. Clear? I hope this makes sense. But make sure that this solid must be insoluble and must be denser. Okay, what is denser? Why should it be denser? Because only if it is denser will you be able to collect it at the base separately. Otherwise you won't be able to collect the rice at the base, or the pebbles at the base. Okay, now here's a medicinal use of decanting, a very, very important use for medical. Okay, and let's read through this technique is called centrifugation technique. Centrifugation. And in this centrifugation technique we use decanting. Okay, centrifugation. And this is a bit different, but still, actually you don't have many questions on centrifugation on your exams, but I would still recommend knowing this knowledge because it is still necessary, especially for your A levels. Most of the teachers expect you to know what centrifugation is. So let's just quickly go through this, although not in a lot of detail, but still let's go through it. Sometimes blood needs to be separated into its components before it can be tested. To do so, we use a machine called centrifuge. This is a machine where where the process of centrifugation takes place. Okay, now if you have blood, if you have a bit of knowledge of biology, you know that blood is made up of plasma and cells, blood cells, right? Blood cells are white blood cells, red blood cells, platelets. Okay, now plasma and platelets, which of the two are gonna be denser? The cells, of course, right? Plasma is the liquid portion. Plasma is the liquid portion of the blood, and excuse me. Okay, plasma is the liquid portion of the blood, and the blood cells are the solid portion of the blood. So the solids are, of course, going to be denser. So what this machine does is that it takes a blood sample in a test tube, and it goes around in a circular motion. Okay, it performs circular motion at high speed, and what that does is that actually causes the denser substances, or the denser part of the blood, meaning the blood cells, to settle down at the base. Okay, and that's how we separate out different components of the blood depending upon different densities. Okay, and for instance, red blood cells are the most, have the most density. Okay, are the denser than the other components. So what we do is, at a certain speed, the red blood cells are the first one to descend. Okay, then when we increase the speed even further, then come the white blood cells, and then come the platelets, and then finally plasma stays on top. So that's how we're gonna separate out blood into its components. And this is again, this settling down process is decanting, okay, using this machine. That's why it's called centrifugation, but it's still a specialized form of decanting. Okay, now let's read through this paragraph because it's important, and then we'll move on to the next part. In the centrifuge, test tubes are rotated, causing solid particles suspended in the liquid to gather at the bottom of the tubes. The solution can be decanted from the tubes without disturbing the solid. Okay, meaning as soon as the solid settles down at the base, what we do, you just remove out the solution, you just pour it into another test tube. Simple as that, right? That's a way of decanting, right? Just look at this picture over here. They are also pouring out the liquid, right? They are decanting it after allowing the insoluble solid particle to settle down. Okay, and when the blood has been centrifuged, it is separated into blood cells and liquid called plasma, and that's it. And this is, by the way, this information is from your book, Chemistry Matters. Now, this is the second technique called filtration, and we'll be talking about that in the next video. This is all about decanting and its medicinal use. Although there are not many questions on this, on centrifugation in O-levels chemistry, neither will you get any question in O-levels biology. But this was just an application of decanting in real life in different fields, such as medicine. Thank you guys, and stick around for the next video, and see you later. Allah Hafiz.